Tennessee got punched in the mouth on Saturday against Missouri, and it never punched back. One of the worst losses that we've seen in quite some time. The worst loss of the Josh Heupel era by score. But let's dive into this. What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? And now, what's left to play for? Let's get into it here on a Monday show.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. It is your team every single day, and it's brought to you in part by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and $20 off your first purchase. I'm your host, Eric Kane. As always, thank you, everydayers, for being here. I know this past weekend was a tough one. It was a tough one. No ifs, ands, buts about it. I mean, it was bad, and we're going to get into it all podcast long. You know, what happened? Now what? Nico versus Joe. A lot of people were asking about that. What are you playing for? Stats and Canner grades, all that. That's coming up on today's show. Quick programming note. Depending on when you're listening and watching this, I was in Columbia this weekend, and you think you had a bad weekend watching Tennessee. Your boy woke up at 3 a.m. both Saturday morning and Sunday morning. Saturday morning to leave Knoxville for a 5 a.m. flight. Sunday morning to leave St. Louis. Not even Columbia. That's 2 hours away, going to St. Louis to get back home after that football game. So, again, blessed to do it. Wouldn't trade it for the world in terms of what I do for a living. But after a hectic weekend, did have a chance to do a postcast, after that loss the other night. So I'm doing a Sunday afternoon kind of recap and Monday show, and this will hold into Monday show, and then we'll be back for mailbag on Tuesday morning. So if you're listening and watching this on Sunday, this will hold court for Monday as well, and then we'll have a new episode on Tuesday as well. So just kind of a bizarre weekend to travel. Thank you guys for being with me here as we venture on here and start this new week. That was bad. I mean, what exactly happened? Like I said in the cold open, Tennessee got punched in the mouth and it never responded. Tennessee falls down 3-0, comes back. It actually does punch back. A gorgeous throw, in my opinion. A lot of you guys are even criticizing that throw from Joe Milton. He's given himself a chance. He's given his receiver a chance to go make a play. So sure, was it the best throw I've ever seen from Joe Milton? No, of course not. But he gave his receiver a chance to go make a play, and boy, Dante Thornton did that. Talking about adjustments, working himself back over the route and staying between him and the ball. Man, what a catch by Dante Thornton, and unfortunately he gets hurt. Hopefully we'll know more about that injury as the week goes on, but Tennessee does punch back, scores a touchdown. It's 7-3, and then that's it. That's it, guys. And I mean, it was bad. Just embarrassing is the word that kind of came to me. And again, I'm not calling for Josh Heupel's head. I'm not demanding that he fire a coordinator or an assistant coach before getting off the plane. So here, you know where I'm coming from with this, but I mean, I think everybody on that staff will just say the same in agreement. Like, hey, that was embarrassing. What a horrible football game. Tennessee scores a touchdown. That's it. It's the lowest point total ever in a Josh Heupel, coached Tennessee football game. Previously, Tennessee had scored 13 points. That was at Georgia a season ago. Previously, Tennessee had scored 14 points. That was at Florida back in 2021. And then the other day, Saturday, Tennessee scores 7 on the road at Missouri, and that is the lowest point total ever for Josh Heupel as a head football coach. That is also, or at least at Tennessee, as far as being a head football coach at UCF and at Tennessee, that is the largest defeat that Josh Heupel has suffered as a head football coach. 29-point loss, the largest defeat that he has had as a head football coach, whether it was at UCF or at Tennessee. Tennessee in the last two, let's see here. Tennessee against its last two ranked opponents on the road have allowed 27 unanswered points and 33 unanswered points to win the ballgame. Of course, that's the second half at Alabama, and this is the second quarter, a little bit and some change, and then the second half against Missouri. So just not the way you want to end football games. You got a team that is so good at what it does. So good at what it does in running the football, and Tennessee gets 83 yards on the ground on 23 carries. Tennessee is so good at stopping the run. Tennessee's the number one ranked rush defense in the Southeastern Conference, and Tennessee allows 255 yards on the ground on 51 attempts. Just abysmal. So who are you? Who was that team That was not the Tennessee Volunteers that we've been seeing all year long. Because what you do best, you did at your worst on Saturday. Just not good whatsoever. And then the whole before the half. I thought this sequence changed the entire game. And I'm not pinning this loss on Jalen Wright. Trust me, this was a team loss. Everybody's saying, well, the offense sucks. Yeah, the offense sucked. Everybody's saying, well, the defense sucked. Yeah, the defense sucked. Everybody's saying the coaching sucked. Well, you got your brains beat in. Sure, the coaching sucked. It was all incorporated. I mean, anybody in that program, instead of pulling instead of pointing the finger, you pull the thumb if there's anything that going on right now, because that was a all-encompassing program-wide loss. Everybody got their shit kicked in. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. I'm working on it. Everybody got their tail whipped, okay? It just was what it was. And so when I say this next part, I'm certainly not blaming the loss on Jalen Wright. You guys know I think Jalen Wright is fantastic. I know some of his family members watch this show, and I can't thank them for being here enough. Unfortunately, he fumbled right there around the red zone, and I think that was his first fumble since Georgia of last year, and we all know how good Jay Wright's been so far this season, an all-SEC performer for sure. But he fumbled that football away when Tennessee was going. It was 73 yards on 10 plays. And at minimum, Tennessee was going to likely tie the football game at 10-all. At maximum, Tennessee was going to take the lead there before the half and then get the football back. But you fumble the football away. And not only that, sure, fumbles happen, that's football. It's frustrating, but fumbles happen, that's football. Turnovers happen, that's football. 20 seconds on the clock, and you allow a 35-yard rush for Cody Schrader right out of the gates, gets to the plus side of the field, and so Missouri's saying, okay, now we can actually get some points here. Let's go quick 9-yard pass from Brady Cook. Let's go quick 9-yard rush to get into more field goal range for Cody Schrader. And then they kick 3 points. That was not stealing 3 points. That was Tennessee, getting a gift and getting some wrapping paper and getting a bow and tying a knot over here. And they're just saying, here you go, Eli Drinkwitz. Here you go, Missouri. Gift wrap for you. There's 3 points right before the halftime. That was so bad. I think that whole sequence just changed the entire football game. I truly do. And again, fumbles are bad, but fumbles are part of football. What really irks me more is how Tennessee responded to that fumble. It just wasn't good at all. And then finally, Missouri had that 1-2 punch. We knew Brady Cook was going to be good coming into this game. We knew, and I said it on last week's show, what scares me the most is his ability to extend plays, his ability to run when things break down, his ability to pick up first downs on third and whatever. And he did it, I believe, 4 times on third downs. I believe Brady Cook ran for first downs in that football game. One time he was wrapped up. It was almost a safety for Tennessee, and he gets out of it somehow and runs for 23 yards on the first down. Very frustrating if you're a defensive coordinator in Tim Banks, if you're a Tennessee defense. But that 1-2 punch from Brady Cook, who was phenomenal, and then Cody Schrader, the SEC's individual leading rusher on the day. He ran for 205 yards against Tennessee and a touchdown, but not only on the ground. He led Missouri through the air, 5 receptions for 116 yards. That was incredible. His performance, he had 321 yards of total offense in that football game. And if not for yet another Heisman Trophy performance type game from Jaden Daniels, a slam dunk for SEC Player of the Week, that'd be Cody Schrader. Still, you had no answer for Cody Schrader whatsoever. You had absolutely no answer. And coming into this football game, on the season in 9 games, Tennessee had allowed 41 receptions to running backs out of the backfield for 248 yards. And in one game, Tennessee allowed 5 receptions to the running back out of the backfield of Missouri, Cody Schrader, for 116 yards. Just abysmal. 15 big plays is how they characterize it in Stat Crew. That's run plays of 15 yards or more or pass plays of 20 yards or more. Run plays of 10 yards or more or pass plays that exceed 15 yards. Of those 15 explosive plays, according to Stat Crew, Cody Schrader was involved in 8 of them. Truly, Tennessee did not have an answer. It was bad from the get-go. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You don't already know. It was bad, but those were some of the big things that stood out to me. The pick six there towards the end. In fact, I think Milton was getting close to being picked off on that route a couple of times already in this football game. But you're down 29-7 at that point in time. It's third down. That pick six doesn't even bother me. You're just trying to make a play. It is what it is. But what about Joe? Now that the season has 3 losses. What are you playing for? Should Tennessee go to a youth movement? Let's have a real conversation about that. That is coming up next right here on Locked On Vols as we continue on here on this postcast / Monday edition of the show. I do want to tell you about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time, proud sponsor of Locked On Vols. You should never have to worry about when you're going to buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time's a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all your sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. Again, Thompson Bowling Arena, the Food City Center, not only the home of Lady Vols basketball, men's basketball, Lady Vols volleyball, but also concerts, monster truck rallies, theater. There's a bunch of stuff that happens over at TBA at the Food City Center, and you can find tickets for all those sporting events and more over on the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals as well, the lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and a whole lot more. Plus, you can see the view from your seats before you purchase those, so you truly know exactly what you are paying for. And the Game Time guarantee means that you're going to get the best price. Even if you find tickets in the same section or row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% the difference. Game Time has got your back. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, guys, welcome back into your Locked On Vols. This Monday / Sunday night edition, wherever you guys are listening to this. Appreciate you. Let's have a real conversation now. Tennessee is now 7-3 on the season, 3-3 in Southeastern Conference play. So what now? I think the question is, what is left to play for? And that's a fair question. Up until, and again, you always want to win the football game, but I kept phrasing it last week as, these two teams, Missouri and Tennessee, doing battle to find out who's, be in second place in the SEC East, yada, yada. And for Tennessee, it wants to keep its SEC East hopes alive for at least a couple more hours. That caveat in there, that at least a couple more hours, meant, what does Ole Miss do with Georgia in the nightcap later on that night? Well, we know Georgia just smashed Ole Miss, and so it's not like it would matter, but still, it was a big football game for Tennessee. But now the East is off the table. Even if you beat Georgia next week, unless I don't know who Georgia, then Georgia will play Georgia Tech. So nonetheless, the East is off the table. So you have the number 1 ranked Bulldogs coming into your house next week, and the East is off the table. You're still playing for a better bowl game. I understand that. You're playing for, you can still get to 9 wins, but it'll be really, really tough because, of course, you got to beat Georgia, and you're at 7 wins right now. And, of course, we're thinking Tennessee's going to beat Vanderbilt. What's left to play for? Should there be a youth movement? Well, first, for the what's left to play for. I know a lot of people will say every loss, Heupel's lost the locker room, or, there's no leadership. And sometimes that can be true. It's hard to lead in the face of adversity. That's why I respect leaders who get out there and take ownership and take control of a football team when things don't go well. It's hard to lead when you're facing adversity. I recognize that. But sometimes that is true. When you have losses and stuff like this, things spiral. There's no leadership and stuff like that. So for the what are they playing for crowd? Number 1, wholeheartedly, you're still putting film on tape. These guys are still going out there and playing football with hopes of earning money to play football for a career in the National Football League or one of these minor leagues out here nowadays. All right, you're still putting yourself on tape. So at the bare minimum, you're still being graded. You're still being viewed on a national television type scale. Scouts are still, looking at you and evaluating your options and all that type of stuff. And that's why it's so preposterous when I hear this fan theory from last year's South Carolina game. We're going to have more on that, which loss was worse, this loss or the South Carolina game from last year, because I have some thoughts on that. But when people say, the defense just melted in because of the Jeremy Banks situation, yada, 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 I'm just sitting here like, okay, so you honestly think a 18 to 22-year-old with hopes of having an NFL future is going to go out there and play football badly on purpose because they're mad at something? No. That's not how it is. Also, if you play better, your NIL opportunities will increase as well. So, again, at the very least, at the bare minimum, you're going out there and you're still putting tape on your play on tape for a resume and auditioning for football in your future career. But also, you would hope that you want to finish the season off the right way. Josh Heupel was not pleased with how Tennessee finished the football game yesterday. He said that a couple of times in his post-game press conference. I would agree with him. Sloppy, penalties, frustrations boiled over. I think it was silly for him to try to kick that field goal instead of just going for it on fourth down. I mean, that was very Jim Mora-esque from the week before, in my opinion, when he had it at the 4-yard line. And I know Tennessee wasn't on the 4-yard line when they were going to kick it. They were at one point in time, but on the 4-yard line and saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to get shut out, so let me kick the field goal here." And I tore into Jim Mora on this program last week for doing that. I'm going to call a spade, guys. There's not much difference in what just happened in the fourth quarter the other day. Why'd you kick a field goal? Why'd you try? Didn't make it, and I hate it for Charles Campbell. He's having a good year. Want him to make the field goal, but it's almost like, why are you kicking the field goal to begin with? So it's like, to each his own. You kind of deserve that, right? I don't know. It just kind of, it's very, very frustrating. But anyway, you want to finish the season out the right way. And that's where leadership and accountability and all that comes in. You're playing for a better bowl game. Tennessee, sure. It's not a guaranteed lock that Tennessee's going to be in Florida now for a bowl game. Charlotte, Duke's Mayo Bowl's in play. Music City Bowl's in play. Tennessee will not play in the Liberty Bowl. That's just probably not going to happen. Okay, it's been, 30 years since that's happened? But anyway, that's probably not going to be a destination. You can still play for the Gator Bowl, potentially for the Outback Bowl. If things fall perfectly, maybe the Citrus Bowl. We'll just see. But you want to finish things off the right way. And so that kind of leads into, well, if the season's already lost and you're already looking to try to get some reps for next year, why not play Nico over Joe? And it's funny, man. I mean, I get it. You're the starting quarterback. You're the starting quarterback at any football team, at any Power 5 football team, especially here at Tennessee. You're going to be the punching bag. It's just comes with the territory. I get in front of this microphone, and I have a lot of you guys that love what I do. I say one thing that pisses off one of you guys, and you hate me and you bash me on social media. You bash me in the YouTube comments. That's part of the territory. I get it. It's like doing that, being a head coach of the Power 5 football program, being the quarterback of the Power 5 football program. And I'm not trying to sit here and say that Joe Milton was fantastic yesterday, because he wasn't. Fact of the matter is, you quarterbacked a team that scored 7 points. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. But my God, I mean, like, sure, Joe, again, I've said this all year, Joe is not the reason you're winning football games. That's the biggest difference in him and number 5, Hendon Hooker. And he is not Hendon Hooker, and no one ever said that he was going to be Hendon Hooker. And people who thought that he should be Hendon Hooker, you were just setting yourself up for failure all offseason. Hendon Hooker could make things out of nothing. Hendon Hooker could, turn things around when things were going very poorly. Hendon Hooker can win you a football game when you shouldn't win that football game. There's not many Hendon Hookers out there. So Joe's not doing that. But boy, Joe was about the 17th largest problem yesterday, that football team. I mean, everybody's just, I'm done with Joe, wipe your hands clean, da-da-da-da. I've seen so many tweets and message board posts and everything about Joe. And again, be frustrated. It's okay. Wanting to look to the future with Nico at this point in the season because Atlanta's off the table, I'm not going to say that's a horrible idea. That's not going to happen, in my opinion. But if you have that mindset, that's fine, in my opinion. But I mean, gosh, Joe Milton was about the 18th biggest issue Saturday. But the fact of the matter is, you're quarterbacking a team that scored 7 points. It's not good enough. You're quarterbacking a team that couldn't finish in the red zone. It's not his fault Jalen Wright fumbled. It's not his fault Tennessee gave up all those points on defense. But it is his fault he threw a pick 6. It is his fault you didn't convert sometimes on third down. It's a team game. I get all that. But, should you look to Nico? Should he come in? It's of my opinion. It is of my opinion that if you were to make a move at this point, it's strictly just to get some reps and look towards next year. But first and foremost, I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't believe that's going to happen whatsoever, especially considering you have the number 1 ranked team, essentially the minor league club for the Philadelphia Eagles, considering how they've had so much draft success going to Philadelphia. You have the number 1 ranked team in the country coming to your house next week for another 3:30 CBS kickoff. Okay? And some people are wanting and expecting Nico to go in there and start getting reps for the future. I'm sorry, that's not the time to get reps for the future. Especially if you go out there and play like you did in Como, you're going to lose by 55. You add in a freshman quarterback making his first start in that mix? I mean, I'm not saying Nico's going to be bad or anything, but a freshman quarterback making his first start against that team and that defense? Goodness gracious, that is not ideal. So it's of my opinion that is simply not going to happen. It's simply not going to happen. Say you lose this game, which is expected. Tennessee's a 10-point underdog. Say you lose this game. Tennessee's 7-4. Going into the Vanderbilt game, yada, yada, yada. We'll see. Joe's probably going to start, and as long as he's healthy, he'll probably start that game. But I mean, that could be a bigger discussion when you're trying to get reps for the future. Nico should get more and more playing time in that football game, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And then you got the bowl game. Will Joe play in the bowl game? Would Joe opt out of the bowl game? And then, Nico would have a chance to start and go through, that entire bowl season being the starting quarterback. Again, that's a conversation later down the road, but it's of my opinion that the whole, well, let's go this youth movement. You're playing youth where you can already, in my opinion. You should still be playing youth more in the secondary, for sure. But you're playing youth on the defensive line. You're playing youth at linebacker. You're getting Ricky Gibson in there a little bit at cornerback. You're playing youth in some spots. But with the number 1 ranked Bulldogs coming to town, I don't think that it's going to be play youth at the quarterback position this week. And for those of you that think that should happen, I'm not going to fault your opinion. Again, you're not winning the East. The East, chances of winning the SEC East, that is off the table now for the first time all year long. Officially, it's off the table. So if you're of that opinion, that's fine. I mean, that is fine. I just do not think that is going to happen. That's my opinion, and I would be, quite frankly, shocked if that would happen. So, we didn't even get into which loss was worse. We'll come back. Which loss is worse, Missouri or South Carolina? I'll have a quick little synopsis on that. We'll go over some stats and Caner grades. Again, newsflash, I mean, they're bad. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. But we will do that as we continue on here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here. Do want to tell you about our friends over at... excuse me, guys. Do want to tell you about our friends over at Jace Medical. We spent a lot of time talking together. We're having a come to Jesus moment here today on Locked On Vols because just like how we get fired up about the wins, we get a little upset about the losses, and that's kind of what we're doing today. I'm thankful for the conversations that we have. I truly am. And today I want to chat to be a little bit more personal as well. Whether you're on extended travel, bracing for a major weather event, or limited by yet another supply chain shortage, you are covered. What do I mean by that? Thanks to our partners at Jace Medical, life-saving antibiotics and a long list of daily medications can be ordered in a 1-year supply. Even ED generics such as Cialis, Viagra, all those prescriptions can help you out, and you can get them in a 1-year supply. That can be an option for you if needed. How do you do that? Well, you go online right now to jacemedical.com. Receive your 12-month supply on daily medication. Remember, use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout for a discount as well. A verified customer had this to say about Jace: I'm thankful for this service. Supply chain issues caused me to cut pills in half just to have some. I ordered most of my daily meds with a year's supply. I also ordered the antibiotic kits. I feel secure now. Prices are lower than local pharmacies. I highly recommend this for everyone. And it's an option for you. It is there if you need it as well. If you or someone would like to have some peace of mind by having a year's supply of daily meds, go to jacemedical.com and see if the offer is available for you. Remember, promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. We got a final segment left here this Monday edition of Locked On Vols. Of course, I released it Sunday evening, so if you're watching and listening on a Sunday evening, this will serve as Monday's episode. Our next episode of Locked On Vols will be on Tuesday, so get in those questions, those comments, those concerns. I've already got tons of questions from you guys at _Caner and at Locked On Vols, but we will do that here for a Tuesday show. Okay, quickly before we get into stats and Caner grades, because again, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on stats and Caner grades because they're not pretty. Also, you notice there's no scoring plays segment this show. Typically, we do that in segment number 2. Well, there was only one touchdown for Tennessee, and that's not enough to fill up a whole segment. Just not a good day. Just not a good day whatsoever. I've had a lot of people reach out to me. First was my buddy Matthew, and I said, "Hey, that's a great offseason subject. Let's table it and talk about it then." But I had more people reach out to me and ask me which loss was worse, and compare these losses: the Missouri loss that happened this past weekend, or the South Carolina loss that happened in 2022. Now, it is in my opinion that this is not even a conversation. It is 125%. In fact, it's 126% more South Carolina's loss was worse than what happened the other day at Missouri. Now, what happened in Missouri, that was embarrassing. It was uncalled for. You should not get whipped up that bad in year 3 at the helm. If you're Josh Heupel, that's in my opinion. Also, look at the finals around the Southeastern Conference. A lot of blowouts this weekend. It was 22-7 with like 5 minutes to go in this game, and it felt like that was a blowout, which it was, but it really wasn't by the score. But then 2 quick ones to end the football game, and it's 36-7. It looks even worse. if you're Tennessee, Missouri. But anyway, that was bad. It was horrible. It was embarrassing. It was pathetic in spots. I am not trying to say what happened the other day was not that bad, but it was against, in my opinion, a good football team. It was against a football team that was ranked number 16 in the college football playoff rankings. It was against a team that played Georgia better than anybody else so far this season, and Georgia is the best football team in the country, in my opinion. Cody Schrader's a player. Brady Cook's a player. Luther Burden's a player. Now, if we go back and look at the South Carolina game of last year, sure, there's NFL guys on that roster. It's Southeastern Conference. Spencer Rattler, we know how good he is, and he was at points in times in Oklahoma. We know how great he was to begin this past season. He was struggling at that point in time last year, but we knew exactly what he was capable of. But he went off at that point in time in that football game. That was a football team that was not very good. It finished the year off really, really well, beating Tennessee, beating Clemson, putting both those teams in the New Year's Six bowl game, and knocking them out of college football playoff contentions. But that's why that loss is worse. It was a worse team, but it truly knocked Tennessee out of the college football playoff picture. Because you can lose to Georgia. Sure, you lost to Georgia. Atlanta was off the table because you lost to Georgia in that undefeated showdown on November 5th of last year. But you still had an outside chance of making the college football playoff as a one-loss team. You were still hovering right around as the number 5th, the number 6 team in the college football playoff rankings. You lost to South Carolina. Number 1, you lost. That dream was dead. Number 2, the way you lost. Sure, and it was two different things. Tennessee couldn't get anything going against Missouri. Tennessee at least scored and had some points against South Carolina last year, but it gave up 60 to not a very good offense. But the way you lost, and plus you lost your starting quarterback. And so for me, it's of my opinion that the South Carolina loss in 2022, based on it truly knocked you out of the college football playoff picture, is 100% the worst loss when comparing these two. Both bad, and both a trend now. You guys know how we like trends here on Locked On Vols. It's happened in back-to-back years. I'm not saying that this is an inexcusable loss because, again, Missouri is a good football team. This was a road football game, okay? Losing to Missouri is not earth-shattering. Tennessee was a 1.5-point favorite. It was a very close. Odds makers thought this was going to be a great football game. The shocking part about it is the way you lost. Just not being able to generate anything offensively, not being able to stop anything defensively, and being outscored by 29 points at game's end. The way you lost was shocking. Not the loss itself, the way you lost. And that brings me to another point, too. You haven't lost a lot of football games the last couple of years with Josh Heupel. But when you lose, boy, it's bad. Florida this past year, bad. South Carolina last year, bad. Georgia was bad, but Georgia truly was just a team that was better than you. Tennessee would try to do something, Georgia would say, don't think so, not today. It's kind of how I viewed that game last year. Alabama, the way you lost the Alabama game this year, bad. The way you lost the Missouri game this year, bad. So it's not like Tennessee can lose games. It's not Tennessee not losing. Tennessee implodes when Tennessee loses the few games they lose under Josh Heupel. Anyway, that's more offseason discussion. It was a bad game, guys. Just was what it was. I'm just going to go universal F grades, except for special teams. Universal F grades for everybody. Not taking a lot of time because was what it was. And I think it would be disrespectful to kind of go in position by position and try to, sugarcoat some things because it was just so bad. Again, Joe Milton, he was not great. He was not the reason you won. He was not doing any things to win this football game. Still thought he played one of his better games, to be completely honest with you. I still thought he played one of his better games. I truly do. But the fact of the matter is, you scored 7 points as a unit. It's not good enough. Milton goes 22 of 33, 267 yards, a touchdown. The interception was the pick six. Tennessee's Joe Milton was your leading rusher, 36 yards on the ground. Jalen Wright had 22 yards. Dylan Sampson had 20 yards. Jabari Small had 5 yards. Yuck. Just horrible. Tennessee overall, 350 yards on 57 offensive plays. Missouri, 530 yards on 75 offensive plays. The first quarter, Missouri dominated because Tennessee ran 3 plays. Missouri played ball control and had 13 minutes and change of possession, where Tennessee had 1 minute and change in possession. And from there, Tennessee could just never get a footing offensively. Just a horrible game. Third down conversions, 11 to 17. At one point in time, I think it was 11 to 13 for Missouri. It was so bad. Tennessee was 5 of 13. Red zone scores, red zone chances. Missouri was 5 for 5 when in the red zone. Tennessee was 0 for 1. Technically, it was that last drive of the football game. Tennessee had, this is a big stat that I mentioned a couple times Saturday night. Tennessee had 3 sacks and 5 TFLs in the first half. Tennessee ended the football game with 3 sacks and 8 TFLs, meaning you didn't get home at all in the second half. You did pick up 3 TFLs, but you were truly making a difference in affecting the quarterback and affecting the passer in the first half with your rush, whereas in the second half, you were not. Just bad. Again, I'm not even going to take the time to do this. F's across the board. Jackson Ross, though, gets an A+. Jackson Ross, good gracious. Jackson Ross, 6 punts. He had 2 that exceeded 50 miles an hour, 50 yards or more. He had 3 punts inside the 20. They are going to fake a punt with him because he has been super close the last couple of games by taking it, running right a little bit, pausing, and then punting the football. And that pause allows his defense, his coverage team to get down there. He is such a weapon, man. And Tennessee down 2 punts inside the 5 and couldn't do anything with it. Jackson Ross is really, really good. Really, really good. Jackson Ross gets an A+++++. Everybody else on the football team, coaches included, get an F because it was just really bad. Tennessee has got to, I hear you, Butchism. I hear you. Tennessee got to snap and clear. Tennessee has got to snap and clear. You know who's not feeling sorry for you? The Georgia Bulldogs. Where's that leadership? What are you playing for? What do you got down here? That needs to be seen from Tennessee this week. This has got to be a 1-2 week for Tennessee. It has got to be a 1-2 week. And we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Tennessee falls 36-7 to Missouri. Guys, appreciate you. Thanks for bearing with me with the crazy, crazy travel schedule. Again, early flights, delayed flights, all that type of stuff. Getting back into Knoxville here on a Sunday. And the next time I'll do an episode, this will be an episode Sunday night. This will be Monday's episode. I will come back with the Twitter Tuesday episode on Tuesday morning. So any questions, comments, concerns, I've got a lot of yours already. I've been making note of it. Send them in @_Kaner @LockedOnVols. Shout out every dayers. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making Locked On Vols what it is. Couldn't do this show without you. No matter what, there's 2 more football games left in the regular season, and we're going to have fun with it right here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys, and new week. Let's get it.